the word state all the time, right? In the news, in politics, pretty much everywhere. But have you ever really stopped to think about what it actually is? It sounds so simple, but it's honestly one of the most powerful concepts shaping our entire world. So let's break it down. Let's figure out what a state really is and why getting this definition right, well, why it matters so much.
Okay, first things first. We got to tackle the #1 point of confusion right out of the gate. We use the words state and government like they're the same thing all the time. But guess what? They're not. And trust me, understanding this one difference is the key that unlocks everything else we're about to talk about.
So let's clear it up once and for all. Think of this as laying the groundwork, getting our foundation straight before we build on top of it.
Here it is, the core difference. The state, that's the whole shebang. It's the permanent political body. The government, on the other hand, is just the agency that runs the state. Now, a great way to think about it is this. The state is the ship. It's the permanent structure. The government, that's just the crew that's steering it right now. Presidents, prime ministers, cabinets, they come and go. The state itself remains.
Now, if we want to get a bit more formal, the political scientist J.W. Garner really nailed it down. He said a state has 4 key components. You need people, a defined territory, a government to run things, and something called sovereignty, which basically means independence. If you take away even one of these, well, according to this classic definition, you don't really have a state anymore. They're all absolutely essential.
So what are these magic ingredients you need to build a state? Let's dive into the recipe, the actual blueprint for a nation.
And here they are: population, territory, government, and sovereignty, the people, the land, the rulers, and the ultimate power. And you absolutely need all 4. It's a package deal, no exceptions. For example, if you have a huge population and a functioning government, but no specific land to call your own, you might have a nation or a movement, but you don't have a state.
Let's start with population, the people. It's funny, even thousands of years ago, Aristotle pointed out that population size is a real balancing act. You need enough people for the state to actually function and, defend itself, but not so many that it becomes impossible to govern. Just think about the different challenges of governing a small city-state versus a country with over 1 billion people.
Next up is territory. This is what gives a state its physical address, its borders. And man, can size vary. You've got these massive continent-spanning states like the United States, and then you have tiny microstates like San Marino, which is smaller than a lot of cities. The size doesn't matter, but having a clearly defined territory, that's non-negotiable.
And this isn't just abstract theory. States define themselves in their own laws. A really fascinating example is in India's constitution. Article 12 goes out of its way to define exactly what the state means, all the different levels of government, for a very specific reason, so it can be held legally responsible for protecting its citizens' fundamental rights. It's a brilliant way of turning a big idea into a real legal shield for people.
And that brings us to the 4th and maybe the most critical ingredient of all: sovereignty. This is the big one. It means the state has the ultimate, final say inside its own borders. No group within the country can overrule it, and no power outside the country can boss it around. To put it simply, the state is the boss.
Okay, so we've got a handle on what a state is. But where did this whole idea even come from? Political thinkers have been arguing about this for centuries, and they've come up with some really interesting origin stories.
And as you can see, the theories are kind of all over the place. Some, like Aristotle, thought the state just grew naturally, like a big extended family. Others said it was about male-dominated rule. For a long time, a popular theory was the divine right of kings, that God literally chose the rulers. And then you have the really modern idea that we, the people, got together and decided to create it ourselves.
Let's look at that oldest idea first, the kinship theory. The big idea here is that the state is just a natural evolution. A family governs itself, right? Then a bunch of families form a village, with a council of elders. Villages band together to form a tribe, and eventually that network just gets complex enough that, boom, you call it a state. It's a very organic, bottom-up kind of idea.
But what if the state isn't natural? What if it isn't a gift from God? That is the revolutionary idea behind the social contract theory. Thinkers like Locke and Rousseau came along and said, wait a minute, the state is a human invention. We the people made a deal. We agreed to give up some of our total wild freedom in exchange for security, protection, and civil rights. That one idea, it's the foundation of pretty much every modern democracy on the planet.
All right, let's bring it into the present day. We know what a state is, and we've got some theories on where it came from.
But what's its job description today? What are modern states actually supposed to do?
Modern states tend to fall into a few different buckets, each with its own job description based on its main priorities. Let's check out 3 of the most common models you'll see out there.
First up, the developmental state. In this model, the #1 priority is economic growth, period. The state isn't just a referee sitting on the sidelines, it's an active player. It's using regulations, planning, and big policies to turbocharge the economy and build up national wealth.
Then, you've got the social democratic state. Here, the primary job is all about achieving fairness and social justice. The focus is on things like equality, a strong social safety net for everyone, and making sure wealth is distributed more evenly to improve the well-being of all its citizens, not just a few.
And a third model is the collectivized state. In this case, the state takes control of pretty much all the economic resources, the factories, the farms, you name it. The stated goal is always to manage everything for the collective welfare of all the people, although of course what that welfare actually looks like is defined entirely by the government in charge.
So as we wrap things up here, it's pretty clear that the state is so much more than just a shape on a map. It's the whole framework, the people, the land, the rules, and the power that organizes our society and fundamentally shapes the way we live our lives.
And that leaves us with a huge question for our time. In a world that's facing these massive, borderless challenges, we're talking climate change, pandemics, huge economic shifts, what is the most important job of the state today? What should we, its people, be demanding from it right now? Something to think about.